Hey everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamlined Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. So, at least twice a week, usually more, I meet law firms and I talk to law firm owners who are using spreadsheets to keep track of the work that they need to do within their law firm. So, I'm not even talking about like spreadsheets to track your income or spreadsheets to track, where clients are coming from. I'm talking about spreadsheets that track what work needs to be done for each of our existing clients. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it's on a Word document or sometimes it's on a notepad. There's lots of different places that we keep it, right? But a lot of firms are using specifically spreadsheets to track the work that needs to be done on each of their files. And I see that as a big problem, and I'll tell you why. The problem with your spreadsheet is that it doesn't trigger you to do anything, right? In order to actually do something and figure out what needs to be done on the spreadsheet, you are having to review this spreadsheet at least once a day, maybe probably more, and having to look for the things that need to be done. And so a lot of law firm owners will say to me, "Oh, well, it's not that bad because, I can just filter it, right? Or I have different colors and I can just look for the right color." And those are all very helpful tools when you're using a spreadsheet to track your matters. However, what I find even more helpful than a spreadsheet is some type of task system that will trigger me when to act. And not just me, of course, but other members of my team as well. And so instead of spending the amount of time that I'm spending having to look at the spreadsheet every time, and then of course, let's not even talk about the idea that some people aren't updating the spreadsheet as frequently as they might, or maybe we don't trust some people in the firm to update the spreadsheet because we've had it we've had it be corrupted sometimes, or we've lost data from the spreadsheet. So not everyone's allowed to update the spreadsheet. So don't even talk about that, but just the idea that in order to use this spreadsheet, I have to be constantly reviewing it and constantly updating it and looking at it and figuring out what needs to be done next. And don't forget what priority, right? Because there's likely more than one thing that needs to be done. So now every time I look at this list, I have to figure out how I'm going to prioritize these things against each other. So if you are using a spreadsheet to track the progress of your cases or your files within your office, I would highly recommend tomorrow when you go into the office or you start working, I want you to keep track of not only how many times you look at that list, but I also want you to keep track of how much time is spent reviewing the list, right? And this is something that I'd encourage not just you to do, but also other members of your team, right? Because of course, it's not just one person reviewing the list, but everyone that has to review the list. This is the time that it's taking. And so I'm hopeful that once you see the amount of time that you and your team are spending reviewing this list and constantly reviewing the list to make sure that everything's getting done, then you'll be able to see the value that a task management system has, one that can trigger and say, okay, now's the time to do this, or now's the time to do that. That I find a lot more helpful than the spreadsheet that I'm constantly having to spend time reviewing. So if you're in a firm where you're having to constantly spend time reviewing a spreadsheet or maybe a Word document that tells us what's been done and what needs to be done next, then please do take advantage of this opportunity to track your time, track the amount of time you're spending, how many times you're reviewing the spreadsheet in a day, and let's see if we can come up with a system that works for you and triggers you when to do the appropriate task next and not having to spend a lot of time reviewing for that. I hope this has been helpful for you today. Have a great evening and thanks for joining me.